Are you new to City Heroes or a returning player wanting to know more about the Warshade? I'm Controlled Chaos, and this video, that's what we're going to go over, is the Warshade. Let's get started. So, first off, the Warshade, for a majority of it, is a lot like the Peacebringer. There are multiple ways to play the character, and you do not need to get travel powers, which is really nice. And it's enjoyable because there are so many powers within the Warshade, just like the Peacebringer, that you're not going to be able to get them all. So you really need to sit down and figure out what powers you want, when, and things like that. There's a lot more strategy to it because of that. But the great thing is because you're not taking those other travel powers to be able to get around, you have more space to get more of your main powers for your primary and secondary. Just like with the Peacebringer, the Warshade has only one primary and one secondary. The differences between the Peacebringer and the Warshade, however, is the Warshade, their attacks are dark instead of light. They are purplish and a black look to them by default, unless you change those colors. The other major difference is that the Peacebringer heavily focuses on flying around, enhancing flight speed and things like that, whereas the Warshade still has flight but more focuses on teleporting around and teleporting enemies to you, or away from enemies, or you to enemies, things like that. There is one other major difference between the Peacebringer and the Warshade, and that is that the Peacebringer has heals that just heal themselves. The Warshade, on the other hand, their heals are siphoning heals. You are damaging the enemy and taking their life and giving it to you. That's where the differences are. Now, there are the different forms. There is a flying blaster type form, just like Peacebringer has. And there is a tanky jump around form that does a lot of melee. Those both work in the same ways, and depending on what server you play on, it will either turn off your toggles that you have, or it will suppress the toggles you have, so when you go back to your normal form, those toggles will turn back on by themselves. Whereas if you're on a server that does not have the suppression of the toggles, you will manually have to turn them back on. So with all this said, when you're playing, you want to play the Warshade to your style and what fits you best. If you want to play it more ranged, then play it more ranged. You want to play it more tanky, then play it more tanky. If you want to play a hybrid, play a hybrid. It's all about you enjoying the game and the archetype. Now, another thing to bring up is speccing out and doing enhancements. Once again, this really depends on where you go. If you're going to play without doing the blaster form or the tank form, and you're going with your default form with all the toggles on, you want to do a lot of endurance manipulation and endurance enhancements, or you will drain dry of endurance very, very quickly. So that's the first thing you want to focus on with that set. On your attacks, as I normally state, you want to focus on your accuracy and your damage. For any holds you have, you want to focus on the holds or the disorients, because the Warshade does have some disorients in their build, so you can get that. But if you're going the blaster route, I recommend you put some points into range. Enhance that range so you can be further away from the enemy, which is good. If you're doing the tank, focus on the damage. You really want to enhance that damage a lot more. You are tanky, which is nice, but the great thing is when you are taken out in the game, you do have a self-res, and this self-res is a lot like the dark matter self-res. It does damage to the enemy and gives it to you to revive you back. So you need to have enemy around it. It is not like the peacebringer self-res where you just pop back up no matter what. So you don't want, when you're getting in a fight and you're seeing, oh my god, I'm close to dying, I better move away so I can res and be safe. No, you want to stay there and you want to go, okay, I'm going to die. Not a problem. You get taken out, you hit that res button, you'll do a bunch of damage to the enemy, and when I did it, I came back to full health, as you've seen in this video. So I hope this helped you out with figuring out the Warshade. If you did, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and have a great day.